You know what? It's nice these authors help me celebrate my birthday by bringing out a bunch of books. My birthday is June the 27th, and I like to mark it on this channel every single year. And this year, I had an idea to look back over a couple of years and see what, if any, books had come out on my birthday that I could read. Thankfully, I found three of them that sounded at least in some way interesting to me. And we're going for the big three in terms of formats because one's going to be an audiobook, one is going to be an ebook, and one is going to be a physical. Starting with the audiobook, I'm going to read The Shadow Sister by Lily Mead. I had never heard of this book before until doing this project, but it sounded genuinely intriguing. It's about a young girl called Casey, whose sister Sutton has gone missing. And Casey's pretty sure she's never going to see her sister again because black girls going missing, nobody really does anything. But Sutton was hugely popular. She was a cheerleader. She was captain of the cheerleading team. So she's pretty sure that something nefarious has gone on because Sutton wouldn't just disappear. Miraculously, she does turn back up, but Casey's pretty sure that this is not the same sister who had left. I am intrigued as to why that is. And I've also seen a couple of reviews saying that Casey hadn't exactly been the best sister that she could have been. I'm intrigued to see why not. In terms of the ebook, we are going for Manslaughter Park, which is not showing up in the cover. We're going for Manslaughter Park by Tisra Tice. Now, this is a reimagining or a retelling of Mansfield Park. I've never read Mansfield Park. I've read like a half of one Jane Austen book, to my detriment. I am intrigued to see how I'm going to enjoy this, having no reference to the source material. Let's see how I get on with it. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to gel with it, but I am going to give it my best shot. And for the physical book, I'm going with a reread that is almost like a fresh read. I am going with The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and I remember very little of this book. I read this back in 2023 for the Amazing Readathon because it had a yellow cover and I was on the yellow team. In 2023, August, every single book that I read just blurred into one another because I had been reading so much for the readathon. This book was one of the ones that I said I enjoyed it. It was one of the ones that I said had impacted me so much. But if you sat me down in the mastermind chair and asked me to explain anything about this book to you, I'm going to look at you with a blank face. Some of my friends have read this, and one of my friends actually messaged me now and then with plot points that they were picking up on. I had to kind of nod my head and pretend that I knew what we were talking about. I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to actually read it this time rather than speeding my way through it. Let's see how we get on. Here we are, 60-ish% of the way through with The Shadow Sister, and this is perfectly encapsulating teenage sibling relationships. Sutton and Casey hate each other. This is so evident from maybe like a couple of pages in. The way that Sutton talks about her sister, there's so much animosity between the two of them. It's evident. But you also get flashbacks to Sutton's life before everything had happened. I think the most recent one that we got was a year before everything had gone down. And you can kind of see the pattern starting to come across. There's a whole big reason why it is that they've fallen out with each other, and that is that their grandmother passed away and she had left all of her jewelry to her granddaughters. And one of the things that was among this was this massive bracelet that grandma wore every single day, and both of them started arguing like cats and dogs over it. Sutton took the bracelet for herself, and Casey decided this isn't okay. This should be something that we share between ourselves. It should be something that I get it, then you get it. That never happens. And I feel like that is the whole reason that a whole lot of the animosity is starting. And you know what? That explains and that shows a teenage sibling relationship better than anything else ever could. It's arguing about the smallest little things, and that being enough to cause a hurricane. The writing in this book is genuinely really gripping me in. I'm finding it hard to believe at times that this is a debut novel. It's so well written. It all flows perfectly together. And it's intense enough and it's got enough intrigue that I almost don't want to stop listening and having to go to work meetings or having to go and do other things. I want to actively find out what it is that's going on. I've got a couple of theories as to where it was that Sutton had been, how it is that she had disappeared, who had taken her if she was taken. I have a couple of theories as to who might be involved with this, but some of them feel a little bit too obvious. It feels like some people in this book are being painted as cartoon style villains, and that there doesn't seem to be any form of redemption for these people because they are so cartoonishly evil. It almost feels like it's too obvious, it's too staring me in the face that this person could be involved in this whole disappearance. I'm having a really good time with this one, unexpectedly, because I don't read a lot of YA anymore. I don't read a whole lot of this genre, so I wasn't expecting to go in and love this. But here we are. We have got a lot to talk about from the weekend. First off, I have finished with The Shadow Sister. Actually, it went exactly where I think it was going to go. I don't know if that's me being in tune with the book or the book being a little bit too predictable. I don't know which road I want to go down with it, but I had pretty much got my suspicions about that person almost from the moment we met. There were also a couple of other issues with the ending. I feel like it was a little bit rushed. There were things that were never really explained. There were things that were never really drawn out. For example, 2 other young girls went missing in the area. There was nothing ever said about them. We never find out what happened to them. We never get closure on their stories. And I feel like that was kind of brushed over. And I really would have liked to have seen a little bit more of an ending to that. I would have liked to have seen it wrapped up a little bit better. On to Manslaughter Park. I, as I was expecting, did not enjoy this book. I don't know if it's because I don't have anything to refer to in terms of the source material, but something about this just didn't work for me. There was also a couple of moments where I didn't know if that was even a part of the original story. Like, Lizzie and Darcy from Pride and Prejudice will turn up and they are Fanny Price's lawyers, and it felt a little bit too much like, I know these are Jane Austen characters, I'm going to put them into the book for you. I also found that I'd been reading it for a little while and not taking a single thing in. And when it gets to that point that I've realised that it's not a good sign. So I've moved on. I think I have gotten something that might work. I have to bend it a little bit slightly, but it's my birthday, it's my challenge, I'm going to do what I want. Orbital by Samantha Harvey won the Booker Prize for Fiction, or the Women's Prize for Fiction, last year, so 2024. There's a slight caveat. This didn't actually come out originally on the 27th of June. It was published in November 2023, but the edition that I have found was printed and published on the 27th of June. I'm hoping that that's going to fit, and I'm hoping that it's going to be one that I enjoy. I haven't read a whole lot of books that are set in space. I haven't read a whole lot of that kind of genre. As for the 7-Year Slip, I knew I was going to like this one going back into it. I am at present 96 pages in. I started this over the weekend, and I am having, once again, a great time. Knowing what I know about Clementine and her aunt, I'm picking up on some slight hints as to where that story is going. But I'm also really enjoying getting to know Ewan again. I'm really enjoying getting to know the intricacies of this magic apartment where you step in and you can go back in time to 7 years previously. This is what has happened to Clementine. She's lost her aunt about 6 months ago and she's still in the throes of grief about that. But her apartment uptown has gotten a little bit too expensive, so she actually moves into her aunt's apartment that was willed to her. She's not super excited about that. But when she steps through the front door, she realises that there's someone else in the kitchen. And that turns out to be Ewan. About 7 years ago, her aunt had gone on holiday. I think she was going around Scandinavia. And her aunt had lent out the apartment to Ewan to kind of cover her costs while she was gone. Ewan is training to be a chef. I think as we meet him in the book, he's going to go out and get a job as like a dishwasher so that he can work his way up through the kitchen. I am so intrigued to see where this relationship is going to go. There are little bits of it that I remember. There are little bits of it that are completely blacked out. I'm along for the ride. But I also had an idea that I wanted to bring to this, and that is other birthdays that happen on the 27th of June and things that have happened on the 27th of June. So I think right now, let's start with the birthdays. There are a couple of other well-known or famous people that have their birthday on June the 27th, including Helen Keller, who is born deaf and blind and was a huge advocate for kind of rights and responsibilities for people who are born deaf and blind. Helen Keller was born on the 27th of June 1880. We'll go a little bit further towards now. And in 1938, Catherine Beaumont was born. Catherine Beaumont is not a name that you would immediately recognize, but you might know her from your childhood. She was the voice of Alice from Alice in Wonderland and Wendy from Peter Pan, both the Disney movies. In 1951, Mary McAleese was born. Mary McAleese is the 8th President of Ireland. In 1975, two very well-known people were born. Roy Haylock, who is the boy version of Bianca Del Rio, and Tobey Maguire, who was Spider-Man in the early 2000s. Jeremy Swift was born in 1960. He is Higgins from Ted Lasso, and he was also in Downton Abbey in a role that I cannot remember, but I think he was like a servant or a maid or a butler to Violet Crawley. Sam Claflin, everybody's favourite Victor from The Hunger Games, was born in 1986. Just a year later, Ed Westwick, who played Chuck Bass in Gossip Girl, was born in 1987. Khloe Kardashian was born on June 27, 1984. Joe Frost, the super nanny, was born on June 27, 1970. J.J. Abrams, who is not only a director but also Gracie Adams' father, was born on June 27th, 1966. And also, what I've discovered is that June 27th is the most common birthday in the state of Massachusetts. So if you happen to be from Massachusetts and it's your birthday too, happy birthday. Here we are, about at the halfway point of the 7-year slip, and so much of this book feels new and fresh, but also memorable to me. And I think that is a good sign that this is a book that did stay with me. There are a couple of things here that I feel are done super well. There's a lot of kind of underlying things that are coming back time and time again. Ewan is back because he is going to be a chef that Clementine's publishing company is going to be working with. I really enjoy that idea of it because she's really working herself to the bone to get this contract. There's a lot of kind of hoops to jump through, some stipulations that are going in, and I think that it's such a really interesting topic. For example, you're going to have to go to this like cooking course and cooking class for an evening. All of the publishers and all of the editors who are vying for this cookbook and this memoir are going to a class that he is giving out to see who is actually the one that he wants to work with. Something else that I appreciate about this book is how it is dealing with suicide. Clementine lost her aunt to suicide about 6 months prior to the events of this book, and it is written so respectfully. It almost feels like a punch in the throat when you find out how it is that Anna Leah passed away. And when Clementine is talking about the impact that it had on her, the impact that it had on her family, the time of year that it happened, how you feel like I should have seen the signs, I should have noticed something, I should have been there. These are the questions that when you are affected by suicide, when somebody that you know and that you love died by suicide, these are the questions that you have, and these are the things that will play in your mind for so long. And I feel like it is written so respectfully and also so wonderfully and truthfully and realistically. As for Orbital, I am not having as good of a time. This book isn't really capturing me in the way that I think I wanted it to. I was expecting something maybe a little bit different from this, and I don't necessarily know what it was that I expected, but I also don't think that it's delivering on that. Now, at present, it's a book that exists and I'm reading it. I don't know if it's going to get any better. I don't know if it's going to improve in any way. What I do like, what I do enjoy, is the depictions of traveling around the world and seeing all of the different countries, seeing all of the different landmasses, the oceans, deserts, tundras. It's so descriptive in that sense, in that you could be flying over the south coast of Africa, and then 2 seconds later you open your eyes back up and you're over the northeast of the USA. Really interesting to read that side of it. It's something that for the vast majority of people on this planet, we're never going to see the world in the way that these astronauts are seeing them. I do feel it leans a little bit heavy on the Russian astronauts, and that isn't something that is sitting super well with me. Not just because of the political climate at the moment, but also because of how dominant Russia have been in space travel. I really would have liked to see other voices being heard, other aspects of the world being seen to, but we are where we are. We have already done some birthdays, but there are other events that have happened across the world on June the 27th. First up that I found was so interesting. The first ever ATM was installed in London in 1967. The yen was officially adopted as the currency of Japan on the 27th of June 1871. Djibouti, a small nation on the eastern coast of Africa, declared its independence from France in 1977. Atari, the huge gaming company, was founded a couple of years before in 1972. The movie Moby Dick premiered on the 27th of June 1956. Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism and the founder of the Church of Latter-day Saints, was murdered by a mob on the 27th of June 1864, and Joshua Slocum was the first person ever to complete a solo circumnavigation of the world on June the 27th, 1898. I always love to look back on things that have happened on a specific day, people who were born on a specific day. It just gives that feeling of it's not just about you, it's not just your day. There were other things that were happening in the world, and there were other people who came to be also on the day that you were born. I have to come back, it's been a couple of hours, I forgot one. June the 27th is known in Germany as Siebenschläfertag, and it is kind of the same idea as St. Swithin's Day. The weather on June the 27th is said to determine what the weather is going to be like for the next 6 weeks in Germany. With that in mind, if you have got a famous person who was born on your birthday, or if something really exciting happened on your birthday, tell me about it, because I want to know in the comments. I have made it to the end of the 7-year slip. This has actually gone up in my estimation. I started this challenge thinking this would be roughly the same as what I had read. I thought I'd experience it a little bit better, but I wouldn't really go overboard with how much I was enjoying it. This has gone up to a 4.5 star rating. I think when I read it previously, it was just sitting at a straight up 4. This is so much better than I remembered it. And I think that is because I was actually taking it in this time. There were things that I was actually concentrating on. There were things that I was actually picking up on. There were a couple of points that I thought maybe this is just a little bit too coincidental and a little bit too convenient. There were a couple of things that just added up a little bit too much. But overall, I loved my time with this book. This has gone straight in to my favorite Ashley Poston book. And I think as well, it has made me want to go back and reread The Dead Romantics as well. I really enjoyed The Dead Romantics. Didn't so much love a novel love story. And I haven't heard anything about Sounds Like Love. Let's see how that one goes. But this one, cream of the crop. And now, I actually can talk about this with Margaret because I remember the things that had happened. Because I have the actual reference points that she was referencing. I had a good time with this one. Same sadly cannot be said for Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I actually put that book to the side as well. I just didn't really get it. I didn't really gel with the writing style. I didn't really get on board with the characters because I felt like we were spending such little time with them. There were chapters that we would focus on one astronaut and then we didn't hear from them again for a couple of chapters. I felt like it was a little bit too skittish. It was all over the place. Nothing really was dragging me in. I have looked up some spoilers for what happens at the end. It's exciting, but it's not interesting enough to make me want to sit down and actively keep going with this book. And that is a kind of a bad sign. What have we learned from this experience? Not every book that has come out on your birthday is going to be the book for you. You might find one that will instantly make an impact. You might find one that you just plod along. Another one of my favorite books, The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue, that also came out on my birthday a couple of years ago. I didn't put it into the challenge because I've only reread it maybe last year, and I just didn't think that it was time to go back into it again. But I think it has also taught me that it doesn't matter how long it's been since you've reread something, you will definitely get something from it. But I think this has also taught me that it doesn't matter how quick you're going to reread a book, you'll definitely get something different from it. So maybe I should have gone with The Rachel Incident, particularly because I might have experienced something different with it this time that I hadn't thought about before when I was reading it. Now that I know for the next time, let's see what next year's birthday challenge brings us. If you would love to leave me comments but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then obviously I would like you to leave me a birthday emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.